Wonder Woman 1984 sees the titular heroine return in a pastel-soaked rollicking adventure of a sequel that pits Diana of Themyscira against Maxwell Lord, a lowly con man turned wishmaster by a mysterious stone. Patty Jenkins returns as director and transports the hero from the trenches of World War I to the streets of Washington DC in the 1980s, bringing with her all of the aesthetics of the era in fantastic and tasteful fashion. I really do enjoy that the film embraces that era, and that era of superhero movies in particular. So things like Donner's Superman from the 70s and 80s, which are a very clear inspiration here, as we've got a villain who's got a big over-the-top world domination plot that involves taking over people's TVs. He has his own secret lair, a hero who saves people in fantastic fashion with over-the-top action and great set pieces, and nice little bits of comedy spread throughout all of that. As I said before, the movie is a rollicking adventure as the plot sees Diana chase Maxwell Lord around the world as the man desperately looks to fulfill his need for greed. One of the big plot points this time round is that Steve Trevor is back, which would be a little bit hard to do considering he died at the end of the first movie. But he's not back per se, it's more like his spirit is inhabiting the body of a random guy, thanks to the wish Diana gives the stone, the wish being she wishes Steve was back. I do like that it was just a random guy for a little bit of the film, and it's not until he speaks his truth to Diana that she's able to see him as Chris Pine's Steve Trevor. Now that he's back, there's also a role reversal from the first film, with Steve being the fish out of water this time and having to acclimate himself to 80s America, which leads to where most of the comedy comes from in the film, from Steve thinking a trash can is modern art to assuming parachute pants means that everyone now parachutes. It's not all funny though, since there is this looming threat of Diana losing Steve again if she destroys the stone, which leads to a kind of crisis of conscience for her, since she doesn't want to lose him again, but she needs to stop the world from going into nuclear Armageddon. Gal Gadot returns again as Diana, and I have to say she does a much better job here than the last few times she's done this. There's this world weariness to Diana now, and she brings a great glow to the character this time round. She's always got this smile on her face and a nice word to say to everyone who she meets, and just makes the character that much more lovable. Kristen Wiig joins the movie as Barbara Ann Minerva, aka the Cheetah, who is also affected by the stone which gives her her powers this time round. Barbara's plot is probably the only thing I didn't like about the film, since it falls into the classic trope of the socially awkward science nerd character suddenly becoming cool and badass and attractive once they get some sort of power. We've seen it before in other superhero films like Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and to a lesser extent Peter Parker in the Sam Raimi films. They also dance around with the idea of her actually turning into Cheetah for quite a bit of the film, until she actually does in the final few minutes of the film. So a lot of the film is just Kristen Wiig in leopard print clothing, which I really hate when they do stuff like that as well. I find it's really cheap and it makes me feel like they're kind of embarrassed by the character. When she does change into Cheetah, the fight with Wonder Woman is kind of fun, but I didn't particularly like the CGI on the character, since it's a completely CGI character this time around as Cheetah, and it's no better than the CGI in Cats really. Maybe just a fraction better. One little piece I did like from her character changing was the little bit of jealousy that comes from Diana when Barbara changes. It really is only one scene in the film when they're at a party, but the way Diana looks at Barbara, it makes it look like she's a little jealous that this woman who no one really cared for before is now getting all of the attention and kind of taking the attention off of her a little bit. It's a nice little touch that gave Diana a little bit of humanity to her character as well. The standout for the movie has to be the villain in Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. He is wonderfully slimy and devious as the villain, and I love the changes they implemented here, with Lord being a kind of Ponzi scheme con man before getting the stone. There's also a little bit of humanity to him, since we see his son Alistair and how he's doing this all for him in a way, wanting his son to have everything he didn't as a child, and we get a little bit of backstory with Lord's poverty-stricken family and how he was treated when growing up and seen as a less than. So he doesn't want that for his son, and he's doing it all for him. However, his greed ends up getting the better of him. There's hints of Donald Trump, Tony Robbins, Bernie Madoff, and a slew of 80s televangelists that fuel Pedro's role, and he channels all of them in this big and loud take on the character, and it's just great. The driving message of the whole film is truth, and that truth wins and always will, and Patty does a fantastic job of capturing capturing that with Diana, especially in the third act, leading to something that I thought was quite surprising, since throughout the whole film we go with Diana not wanting to kill these people that Lord is using, since they're not doing it under their own free will. And I was sure we're going to get something near the end where she has to kill Maxwell Lord like she did in the comic. But here they kind of subvert the expectation there a little bit, where she ends up saving him by telling him his truth. I thought that was quite cool. And again, yeah, I like that it was different to their relationship in the comic and kind of flipped that on its head a little bit. In the music department, I am really happy that they barely used that guitar riff theme that she had in Batman v Superman and Justice League, since I didn't think that fit the character at all. And now Hans Zimmer, who has decided to get out of bed for this one, delivered a really lovely choir focused theme that is much of a better fit for a princess and for a hero of an Amazonian island. It's hopeful, it's uplifting, and it just sounds like something a superhero would have as their theme. Wonder Woman 1984 is a really great superhero movie and a love letter to the Donner, Superman films, and films of the 1980s, filled with fantastic action, great character moments, comedy, and most importantly, hope, which I think a lot of people need at this time of the year, especially in 2020. It's led by a truly great set of cast members that all feel their roles so damn well, and I'm really hoping the next couple of DC films can draw inspiration from this film and not be embarrassed to tell the stories of these heroes that they are adapting, and not resort to needlessly pretentious symbolism or grim dark reimaginings. I'm going to give Wonder Woman 1984 an 8.5 out of 10.